Hey everybody, welcome back to One Seed, One World. I just wanted to give you guys an update on what's going on in the garden. Um, there's construction going on up across the street, so there's a lot of beeping, so sorry about that if you're hearing that. So Mitzi got her stained glass done for me for the greenhouse, the green man for the greenhouse. It looks pretty awesome there in the window, although it's kind of overcast today, so the light isn't coming in really good, but I'll see if I can get a close-up shot of that. She did an awesome job on that whole thing. It took her about 3 months to make. I think it's like over 300 pieces of stained glass that she put in that thing. So the garden expansion now is finally done with getting the 4 new raised beds in. If you saw any of my build videos for those, the problem is that it took me until, just about the end of July to finish those. I did have a bunch of plants in pots that had been in pots since I started them in the greenhouse in the spring. And I don't know if they're really going to do a whole lot. Some of them are looking pretty sad, especially the tomatoes. I mean, they were root bound, and it just took me too long to get to those. So I guess I could still get a couple of them have some like little tiny ones on them. I actually picked one Roma tomato yesterday, one of the little smallest plants of this little tiny Roma, but it turned red. So I picked that and ate it yesterday. And it was good, but I don't know if they will really do a whole lot. They're struggling now, and I think it's going to take them a while to recover. Because when stuff gets root bound, it's just all the roots are all just scrunched up in that pot, and they have a hard time then breaking out and getting enough nutrients to get the plant to grow. Eventually, I think it's possible to get there, but it takes them a lot longer recovery time. And now that we're into the first week of August, the time is limited before we start getting to frost dates and cooler weather and whatnot. Some of the peppers and eggplant that I put in that were also in pots, a lot of those seem to be doing better, and I think I might get some stuff off of those. It has been a hot summer. This week has finally been nice here, like in the 80s, but starting tomorrow we're back up to 90 again, and it's supposed to be, mid 90s all of next week. And we've had little to no rain. It's been a week since we've had any rain, so I was out watering last night. And I got to do some more watering this morning at the back part of the garden. But a lot of stuff is really struggling because I have done a poor job of keeping up with the watering as well. Now that I'm not building stuff all the time, I'm hoping to do a little bit better at that and keep all the plants going as long as possible. But because of all that hot weather, the tomatoes that I had in the back were not turning red yet. Well, I say yet, but finally I did harvest a few tomatoes this week and some more coming in. But with all that hot weather, it really slowed down the process of stuff turning red. And also, because it was so hot, the plant wasn't putting off very many blossoms either. So the amount of tomatoes that I have is much less than in previous years. I'm hoping that it starts putting out more blossoms and more tomatoes as the summer progresses through the end into fall, so we'll see. So I'm a bit behind in my harvesting in the garden. This past weekend, we were having a backyard concert where a musician that we had been following for about a year or more now, was doing these home concert things. And so we scheduled and set up for him to come play in our backyard on Saturday. And so we had like 25 people or so coming over. And then the morning of the concert, he backed out on us, the musician. He canceled on us. So that kind of threw things a little crazy, but we went ahead and had the gathering anyway. I had a stage set up on the deck, and I played a little keyboard and guitar, and Tim, my stepson, he played quite a few songs, and we all, just entertained each other. A few people didn't end up coming, but I think we still had like 20 some people here. Anyway, with getting all the preparations together for that, I have not been harvesting. Plus I thought, I wanted everybody to see the long beans and quite the effect that they have. So they went over really well. But in doing so, some of these have gotten a little bit bigger than I like. The optimal picking for them is probably about 12 to 18 inches, where they've got still really good texture. But as they get bigger, they get more, almost like a spongy kind of thing going on. I mean, they're still fine to eat. It's just the texture. I don't like it as much as when they're a little bit younger. You can kind of see. So this is one of the older ones, and you see how it's kind of spongy. Whereas like this, well, let's see, yeah, like this younger one here is not. It's more tight. So it's hard to tell probably on the camera, but you can tell by the feel with these. And like I've mentioned in previous videos, I could leave these on to dry on the vine and then actually shell the beans from the inside, but I'm not quite ready to do that yet. I will probably wait another, I don't know, at least 3 weeks, depending on how much I get. So far I've harvested about 4 pounds, or a little over 4 pounds, and now with this second harvesting, I'm going to have quite a bit more to blanch and freeze. So we'll see how these long beans go, where I am in poundage. Last year I think I got it a little over 15 pounds total before I started letting them dry on the vine. So we'll see. So I think this is all I'm going to pick for today. There's still more in there, but some I think I will leave to dry on the vine just because this is a little out of hand. But let's see. I don't know if this is going to hold very well. I might need to get a chain actually. Yeah. Have to get something better to weigh that. See how many pounds we came up with. Yeah, a little over 19 pounds, including the weight of the basket. So I think the basket's probably a couple pounds. I'll have to double check that, but it's a pretty decent haul for one day of picking off the hoops. Something else that I've been sorely neglecting is the eggplant. So get the clippers here and go out and do some harvesting there as well. So in here I've got those Astracum, and I think that's the way I pronounce them, Astracum eggplant. They're kind of like the, the big black beauty that you get at the grocery store. They look just like them, except for they are much smaller. So, but you could still use them. I mean, they're good for eggplant parmesan, frying up, grilling, all that kind of good stuff. All right, so I've got a mix of Syrian stuffing eggplant and Astracum eggplant in here. To me, they both look the same. And this is the first time I've grown either of them. But unless I mislabeled them, I'm not really sure. I might have to go look this up. Because I thought that the Syrian stuffing ones were much smaller than the Astracum, even though the Astracum are small. So, I have to go back to the drawing board. This is the old bed that had peas on one side and garlic on the other. That has all now been harvested and put away. So what I did is I planted a late Trombino rampicante squash, which is like these long trombone looking, or kind of almost like a saxophone looking squash that comes in. The vines are very prolific. I I think they get up to like 40 feet long. And so I put in this hoop bed, or this hoop trellis, and it's doing a really good job of growing up on it so far. And I'm starting to see potential for blossoms coming in now, even though this was planted late. Like, this really took off really fast. So I'm hoping we get some of those. This type of squash can be used as a summer squash and a fall squash. Depends on when you choose to pick it. If you pick it when it's younger and more green or whatever, you use it just like a zucchini, but you can also let it mature on the vine, and then it turns a little bit different color, I think more of a beige, and then it will kind of harden off the way butternut squash does, where that you can keep it and store it into the winter and use it like butternut squash. So we're going to see how this plant does. Got some big old Cherokee purples coming in there that are red. These have actually done pretty well. I've gotten some really big ones off of them. These were the first ones to start turning red for me, and I'm looking forward to getting a lot more of those. I'm not really sure why they're called Cherokee purple, because I don't think that they are that purple. They're almost like more of a pink to me, pinkish red, green, I don't know. They remind me a little bit of the Berkeley tie-dyes, although they don't have the green striping like the Berkeley tie-dyes. Chadwick cherries have done well. Chadwick cherry tomato. There's a lot of green ones in here, and I have a second plant growing in the back that has a bunch more coming in. So now I'm gonna have to find what to do with all these. Although, because they are a larger cherry tomato, I mean, that's a pretty good size for a cherry tomato. You know, they're not like those like little grape ones. That I think I could do like whole canned tomatoes with these, like little ones. So that might be kind of cool. So the scarlet runner beans have been going insane, and some of the pods that are coming in are just massive, really filling out really nice. They've done a really good job of filling the hoops up over me on both sides. I have a lot of beans in here, and there is a lot of flowers that will still produce more beans. These I leave on the vine until fall, until they dry all out, and then I'll harvest all those and have some great dry beans for both planting next year. If I get enough, I might even sell some of the seed packets, or make seed packets and sell those, and then just beans to eat. So these are now one of my favorite beans to grow, just because they do such a great job of filling in these arch hoop trellises. Cucamelon wall has completely filled in, and I've got a lot of cucamelons in here to pick, and a lot of little ones that are still coming on. I actually did something different this year. Normally what I've done is I plant a row down either side of the trellis, and it gives me a really thick filled out wall. This year I decided to just plant one row, just kind of right down the center. It's still completely filled this whole 4 foot or 8 foot long by 4 feet high trellis. Completely is filled in on both sides, even though I planted half as many seeds. So when you're planting cucamelons, they do start off real slow. It took them a while to get here. I mean, these were planted in May, and it's only been in the last probably 3 weeks that this really started filling in. So if you're planting cucamelons and you're wanting to like kind of do like a trellis or a wall like this, or even over a hoop or something, just be patient. The vines do take a while to get there, but once they get going, man, they get going. And you might not need as many seeds as you think that you do. Holy cow. Look at this monster. See if I can get this out of here there's a green one on the other side that I want to leave on the vine if I can. Oh, come on, baby. There we go. Yeah. Look at that. There's a little bit of marking on the bottom, but that's okay. This is a nice big tomato. This is actually, it could get a little bit redder, but I will let it ripen on the counter inside. But this is one of the mortgage lifter varieties. And some of these, man, I mean, there's little ones in here too, but there's all other ones that are just massive. And they are, you know, similar to like a beefsteak, big, good slicer tomato. This is one of my fish pepper plants. They, I only got like 2 or 3 that I ended up putting in, and 2 of them are ones that went in real late, like I was talking about early. But this was one that I just decided to throw in this random bed where the oregano is, and then back here behind me I got some turnips, there's a cucumber plant in here, a little bit of everything kind of mixed in. So I just threw this guy in here, and it's grown slow, but it's really coming together, and now is putting off the little peppers, and these will turn color in time. Kind of a neat plant. It's got variegated leaves that you can maybe see here. And this particular variety of pepper has a really long history in Maryland. You know, Maryland is very famous for its crabs and like Old Bay seasoning. And so this fish pepper was basically pre-Old Bay. They would grow it and use it to season a lot of seafood dishes way back in the day. It was also, I think it's Chesapeake Bay Magazine has a really good long historical article on this variety of pepper, the fish pepper. It was real popular in the African American communities with a lot of the seasonings that they used, and that's kind of where it grew in popularity. You don't see it as much anymore, although that there are, you know, some restaurants that will still really look for this pepper to do with their seafood dishes. It's a, you know, a spicy pepper, but I don't think it's, I need to look up and see what it hits on the Scoville unit scale, but I think it's probably somewhere in the maybe medium heats, somewhere in there. But yeah, that's what they used pre-Old Bay in seafood for seasoning. So a little bit of facts there for you. See, one of my potatoes was uncovered here. So this was one of the test beds that I had shown you very early on in the season. It's pretty sad looking right now. You know, originally it was half potatoes and half corn with some amaranth on the end. The amaranth is still only about that tall. I think because it's too shady on that end of the bed. It's very slowly growing, but I don't think I'm really going to get anything out of that. And these potatoes, some of the plants back over here look really healthy, and I got ones up here off the camera that were planted later that look really healthy, but there's a batch here in the middle that has like some kind of blight. And I'm just wondering, because I've got like 3 different varieties in here, but they were all kind of intermingled. Somewhat, I guess. Actually, the ones here were one variety, the ones on this end were a variety, and the ones up there are another variety. But these ones in the middle, I'm not sure which ones these were. I think these were the red ones in the middle, white, red, and another variety of red up there. But it looks like this one variety, these are the ones that all got hit with this blight that's just killing off all the leaves. So I don't know what's really going to come out of this, but it's looking pretty ugly. Whereas the other ones are all looking pretty healthy on either end of the bed. And even some of these back like I don't know, a couple weeks or so ago, you know, they all had like their blossoms and flowers on them and were doing well, but these started struggling really early, so I don't know what's gonna happen with those. So my other test bed up on the hill, I don't really feel like walking up there right now. There's not a whole lot to show you. That's where I had done the companion planting with the radish and the summer squash and zucchini, and then I also planted dill up there. And that area doesn't get a whole lot of sun. In fact, since we had the privacy fence put in, it gets a whole lot less sun than I had planned on. When I originally planned the garden, morning sun would kind of come down this way and hit it for a couple hours, and then it would get shady, and then during the afternoon it would get more sun from the other direction. However, when the fence went in, it blocked that first like 2-3 hours of sun that it was getting. So, and then also the contractors, when they were putting in the fence, they put it in closer to that garden bed than I thought that the fence was going to come initially. So they kind of trampled a lot of stuff along, like they killed off a bunch of dill that was growing along the one edge. I do have some other small dill plants that are coming in up there, but because it's such a shady area, the yellow squash especially is up on the most shadiest side of it. And those plants, they're like maybe this big. I mean, I haven't even had any blossoms on them. They really don't get enough sun. The zucchini plants are doing a little bit better, but they are still struggling. I've gotten one zucchini so far off of them. There are more flowers up there though, but it's still struggling. For one, I haven't kept up with watering it. And like I said, we're not getting hardly any rain. So it's experiencing water stress and then not getting enough sunlight. So the plants are struggling. The only thing that did really well up there was the radishes, and I've got the rows of radishes. They've all, you know, they were sacrificial radishes because they were put in as companion plants to help keep squash bugs away. Now I will say, I haven't had any squash bugs, 0. So I don't know if it's because the placement, because it's in a new area from where I don't normally plant squash, or if the bits of dill and all those radishes coming up around them are keeping them away. But so far, so good. Then a second thing that I've done is actually just about a week and a half ago, I planted more zucchini that I'm hoping to get a late harvest out of, and they are just starting to sprout now. They've all popped up out of the ground just over the past few days. And because squash bugs, the way their life cycle works, normally by this time they have already gone through some of their life cycles. So when they were doing their early feeding and stuff, I didn't really have anything in here for them to feed on. So there was nothing here to attract them, so I didn't have any squash bugs in my garden. And now I'm growing up late squash. So we're gonna see if late planting zucchini does the trick as well, because I don't have any companion planting around them. It's just squash. So we're gonna see if we end up with squash bugs or not on those. So I think that's about it for a garden update. Not a super amount going on. You know, long beans, eggplants. Did I mention the eggplant? I don't remember. Got a lot of eggplant coming in. Oh yeah, I showed you picking those earlier. And I still haven't looked up yet, even though now it's been a day or so since I filmed that one segment. The astrachan versus Assyrian stuffing, I haven't gone back and checked my notes on what's what, because I have them marked the same, or you know, I have them marked separately, but all the eggplant I'm getting off of those supposedly 2 different varieties look exactly the same to me. So maybe I mark them wrong, but I need to go back and check that. But anyway, I'll stop rambling. Thanks for stopping by and checking out another video. I hope whatever's going on in your neck of the woods, in your gardens, greenhouses, whatever it is that you're doing, I hope that it is going swimmingly for you and it's all coming together and you're getting lots of good produce this year. Please subscribe to our channel. We'll see you again soon. Have a great day. Namaste.